time doesn't come out of thin air. Let's understand that. And the idea that you maintain a calendar has little to do with measurement of time. It is more to do with tracking the events. Okay. So the calendar itself needs to be changed. Why? Because the time has changed. So if you read the history of Vikram Samvat essentially comes up, and who makes it? It's Varaha Mihira, who I'm, deeply, deeply in love with, because what he's, I mean, if you read more literature and if you read Varaha Samhita, you start to understand what he's really talking about. And Maharaja Vikramaditya is the one that launched Vikram Samvat. So Vikram Samvat is after he's won over all his enemies, he forgives all the debts, okay, frees all the people. The biggest bondage for today for people is debt. He frees them all, liberates them. He launches something called Rinamukteshwar Mahadev in Ujjain. People can visit that place. Okay. So then I was curious. So if he launched it, what was it before? There are thousands and thousands of Samvats before that. Yudhishthir Samvat, Krishna Samvat, Arya Samaj Samvat, Saptarishi Samvat. There are so many. So I've only explained few. The idea was that please, guys, understand the idea and the study of time is what the Vedas really are. The primary thing. And that is what people flock to India for. The Europeans 2000 years ago didn't really know how to manage their years. I mean, one year was 200 days, second year was 350 days, third year was 450 days. They didn't really know how to manage it. So they constantly struggled with the fact of managing this. And that's when they came up with this idea of 25th December. They're like, these Hindus, the Brahmins are confusing us. It doesn't keep changing. It'll be fixed. So you got to ask, if this is your avatar, if this is, Christ is the Son of God, why would you give him the, fifth last day in a year? Ideally, you should give the first day. It's not. Why are you doing that? Because it's like out of the blue, it's, essentially winter solstice, right? So if the sun is moving constantly, they're saying, no, it's fixed. It's fixing of the Christos. Aries, Libra, Cancer, Capricorn. Fix the Christos. That's the crucifixion of the sun. But today, the winter solstice is happening on 22nd, 23rd December. The Veda, the Surya Siddhanta fundamentally says that the Brahmanda is oscillating. That is why this thing is happening. But then scientists, I forget his name, he says the Earth axis is wobbling. Bizarre. If Earth axis is wobbling, why is the Jupiter axis wobbling? Why isn't Saturn axis wobbling? Doesn't make sense, right? So lots of these theories, even again, I am not here to criticize science. I want science to improve. We need to reimagine science. Science is a tool that all of us can come together as one world. But in order to do that, we need to at least be flexible, that we can't believe in science, we need to question science, right? And the moment we understand that, if science starts to understand time, the way we question things will change, our historical narratives will change, and the world essentially will be a lot better to interact with, rather than fighting my history versus your history and the acquired, victimhood that we've been facing for the longest time. When actually we are the ones who have been most persecuted. Hindus are the ones that are more persecuted. Hindus are the ones that have been looted. Literally all the wealth that has come from here. People can't question that because it's all documented in their own scriptures. So if that is what is being documented, then how can you keep questioning the Hindus? We're not the ones who've been attacking. We're not the ones who've been, plundering. We're the ones who've got attacked. We're the ones who've been, had multiple Hindu genocides have happened. Nobody's talked about that. What Winston Churchill did was 1,000 times worse than what Hitler did. But what you hear about is there was Alexander the Great, there was Columbus who discovered America, then there was Hitler, and that's it. I mean, what happened in the past 500 years, and 1,500 years to be precise, is much worse. This is the history that we need to teach. And I'm not saying we need to go back and avenge. What I'm saying is we need to start looking at the facts in the way they are rather than some historian's perspective of it.
And unlike Abrahamic traditions, where they said that all other living things, animals, are to serve the humans.
Right.
But still the humans are being born with original sin.
Right. But you got to understand, all of this came up only after the 15th century because the invention of the clock was what misled them. I mean, imagine what does a Hindu do? A Hindu goes to some place, he'll build a temple. What do the Europeans do? They built clock towers.
They restrict the time.
Yeah. Same thing with Islamic. Saudi Arabia dropped the Hijri calendar for the first time in history in 2016. You need to ask, why did they drop it? Because they're saying, for religious purposes, we're following this. No, no, no. Vikram Samvat is not for religious purposes. Vikram Samvat essentially drives the economy. You don't have to have a marketing. Diwali, automatically the economic activity booms. So if you're dropping a Hijri calendar, and Saudi Arabia is the only country who's saying, look, we need to move away from radicalism. Pakistan can deal with its own problems. Kuwait can deal with its own problems. They're saying we're out of it. Because Saudi Arabia fundamentally realized, look, we are wrong. We need to recalibrate. So the calendar needs to be recalibrated. World Economic Forum, UN, all these international bodies are saying, look, we can't manage. We need to revert back to a indigenous calendar. What the meaning is, they need to come back to Vikram Samvat. Today, the biggest and the most bitter pill to swallow for anybody is that Vedic civilization is the most superior. Vedas are the only ones that have truth, nowhere else. When I say truth, the measurement of time, the definition of time, because that's the only access to Paramatma. Hindus are not worshipping some, male guy sitting up in the skies. We are fundamentally
Yes.
propitiating the Paramatma, the atomic.
Please tell about the Nasadiya Sukta, sir.
Exactly.
So in Nasadiya Sukta, we are also questioning the creator.
Exactly. So the reality
Concept of creator from Vedic perspective.
Exactly. So the moment you realize it, I mean, what are you arguing about? Shri Vishnu is just a symbol. Shiva is just a symbol. The fundamental reality you're talking about is quantum.
The Rishi Kashyap,
Yeah.
Buddha, that's also a title, not
Exactly.
in particular person. There are
Exactly.
many Buddhas.
Many Buddhas. Exactly. And anybody who says, well, Buddha was born on a Purnima, Guru Purnima, okay, great. Where did you get the definition of Purnima? I asked some fundamental questions. Nobody's answering that. If anybody was born, you're calling it something. How did the Gregorian, the Julian calendar start on that particular day? How did you get the weekdays? No derivation.